What's good, man? How are you?
I'm well, man.
Yeah, you been alright?
Been good, been busy.
Yeah.
And now just tailing off my training.
Yeah.
Ready for fight week.
So for the people that don't know who you are, you just want to give us a little background intro.
Yeah, so my name is Harlem Eubank. I'm 15-0, professional boxer.
Yeah.
I've been boxing 10 years and I'm coming through the ranks.
Yeah.
I've come through from the small hall shows, made my statements, and I've come through the hard way.
Yeah.
And kicked down the doors myself. So it's been a interesting journey. It's been tough, and I feel like my individual journey's prepared me for the pressures of the sport. So I feel like I've done the groundwork and I'm ready to kick on.
Do you feel as though you've had to work a little bit harder?
Definitely. I've always felt that I've had to work harder than anyone else in the room to make up the ground, because I've been, I started boxing at 18, really. So I knew, I've got work to do. There's fighters that start when they're 6-7 years old, and they build all the technical attributes up over time. So by the time they're 18, 19, they're technically very advanced, and then it's just a case of building the man strength. But for me, it's been a crash course. I've had to really work to get the technical attributes while my man strength develops as well. So it's been a journey, but it's been a worthwhile one, and ready to kick on in the sport now.
So you've been doing it, you said, since you was 18.
Yeah.
And you're now 28.
So
28. That's
10 years.
That's 10 years in the game.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that you got to start earlier.
Yeah.
So have you found it harder to pick up those natural instincts?
Definitely. I feel like I have a lot of natural kind of attributes, like, agility and a lot of natural athleticism. I've always been into sports. And I done karate when I was a little kid for 4 years. So I almost had to train myself out of. It's almost difficult when you have another martial art ingrained in you, because the footwork's different, the guard's different, everything is slightly different. So to actually pick up something fresh is easier than it is to train away from your natural things that you've already picked up and ingrained in your body and your style. So it's always been an extra challenge, for me, and I relish that challenge, and relish the opportunity to try and defy the odds, and I feel like that's what I've been doing, over the last 10 years.
So the concept of the show is really to dive into the mental state and the perspective of somebody who's been through certain situations. So I think it's important just to, first of all, let's speak about, where are you mentally?
I think I'm in a good place. Going through the process of being a professional fighter from the start to this point here, it's a lot different than what people think it is from the outside. So I think a lot of the challenges that you face early on, not being able to get fights, training with no fight date, with nothing in, with no goal, because you haven't got a fight date, and the struggles that are presented early on in the life of a professional boxer are way more and way different to what it looks like from the outside. So I feel like you overcome a lot of them challenges early on, or don't overcome, but the challenges are there, present very early, to be like, are you going to kick on and persevere even though the opportunities aren't there, or are you going to do something else? And I feel like I overcome a lot of them obstacles coming through. Continue to persevere, and made some statements in the fights, and and now I'm here. I'm ready to make more.
What was your obviously growing up in Eubank? Your dad was also a boxer.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up?
I mean, I was never really shown boxing too much growing up. Obviously, you heard everything that Senior had achieved and how he was respected by when our names and stuff were read out in class, and Harlem Eubank, and everyone kind of draws attachment to his uncle's Chris Eubank Senior. So it's you kind of go back and look up what did my uncle do to get this kind of reaction from people. So you go back and you learn the history and what history he created.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, okay, boxing's obviously been completed by the family. Let me try something else. There's no point trying to do well in this.
And what was it like? Obviously, your uncle being so well known and so successful in terms of the boxing and stuff like that, and obviously your dad being a boxer, maybe not at the level that he was. Did you feel any type of, was there any, wouldn't say resentment from your dad, but was there any, like, you could see there was a bit of competition, or there was a bit of hard feelings, or was it just all love?
I don't think so. I think, obviously, my dad's a twin, so you got Simon and Peter, okay. They're both twins, and they're the elder brothers of Chris. So Chris was the younger brother trying to impress the older brothers.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big part of why he took up boxing, to try and gain the respect of his brothers. And and I think he done that. He succeeded, and he become a star in the sport. And I think there was no resentment between the brothers. It was more a case of just the younger brother trying to impress his older brothers at the end of the day.
Because we've got a similar, obviously, the lineage is ridiculous in terms of boxing. Could probably be like the royal family of boxing. The similar kind of older brother, younger brother boxing you now have with their sons also doing boxing and stuff like that. Is there any competition between you and Chris?
No, I think the way I see Chris coming up motivated me to get into boxing, and because I could see him physically in the gym, whereas Senior, you're looking back at the footage and you don't see any process or any okay, how do you go from never first stepping into a boxing gym to fighting at world level? There's no, you're just looking back at world level and you're like, that's great what he achieved. With Junior, I could see him in the gym working from a less advanced position. So I could see, okay, this is the work ethic that you need to actually progress. So Junior kind of made it seem more possible, because it's like I could actually physically see this is how he's working in the gym. Maybe if I apply this same work ethic and attitude towards the sport, then maybe I can do something here. So
is that just a natural in terms of like the work ethic, the grind, the hard work? Is that just a natural thing that just came to you? Like, was it a thing that it runs in the family?
I think different people in the family have different personalities and different attitudes towards different things. Like, everyone expects every Eubank to be the same, or this is what they're like. Everyone's got their own personality, and with me, I always had that affinity towards combat, and from an early age, and that was from watching Bruce Lee, and I love the philosophy of take your shoes off before you come into the dojo. Like, there's a certain etiquette, a certain respect, and put the work in, and then the rewards come. So I always had that kind of dedication to a craft where it's like, come here every day. If you don't show up, you shouldn't be here type of thing. And I always loved that kind of that etiquette and that the idea of actually committing yourself to something for a long period of time to get the rewards.
So if you wasn't a boxer, what would you be?
I'm not too sure. It would have to be active. I can't sit still. So it'd be something with a type of energy attached to it. Tried my hand at a lot of different sports. So I think I'd be in sports regardless, I think.
Yeah. So one of your fights, you got hit after the bell.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind?
I couldn't believe it. I was looking at the ref because the instructions to break were pretty clear. So I stepped back and got strike, turned around. I'm looking at the ref like, you gonna take control of the fight, or is it gonna turn into a street fight? There's a clear set of boxing rules that determine the ref says break, step back before you resume fighting. So I was completely new to me. I had to readjust and just focus on continuing to fight and continuing to making sure I hurt this guy, because after you get struck after the bell, he's seeing that as he had no answers to what I was doing. So he tried to turn the tides using that type of method, and I knew that he's gonna try and jump on me to, I don't know, unleash a combination and maybe hoping the ref kind of waves it or whatever after he's struck me after the bell. So I'm thinking, let me take as long as I need to recover, because as soon as this bell goes, I'm gonna run at him and I need to give him something heavy to taste. And I done that. I went back with more fire, and then he done it again, and the ref made the right decisions.
15-0. There's this myth, right, when it comes to martial arts or combat, that you have to be able to control your emotions, control your hand and stuff like that. Is that a myth, or?
No, I think it's very accurate. Your emotions, either way, are gonna make you act out of character, or out of, if you have a method or a training plan or a peak kind of performance, which is based on your training and your drilling of a technique. There's no emotion involved in that. That's just you training your kind of your brain network through your body to do a certain technique. If you add emotion into that, it's just going to make you tense up. It's going to make you react outside of that training and outside of that repetition.
So it's just like plan and execution.
So it's like, if you do something, if you know how to do something, if you're playing darts and you know how to hit the target 10 times, and it's repetition, there's no emotion involved in it. If you then put someone behind you that is putting pressure on you and keeps saying stuff every time you throw, and you can't control that emotion, then that's going to affect the thing you've been drilling that you can hit every time. So it's it's just a case of not letting anything from the outside influence the motion you're doing and the task at hand.
Do you feel as though you've been able to separate the fighting and personal life? Do you feel as though you are able to express your emotions more in the ring than outside the ring?
I think inside the ring is just a reflection of your character outside of the ring. Everything's on show in the ring. And that's down to your instincts, how you react when adversity comes. If you're going to try and cheat, because you can't overpower the opponent in front of you. If you're going to fight truly, if you're going to how you react to adversity, how you react to being beat, how you react when the other man's on top. If you carry on fighting through adversity, everything is on show, because it's a true combat's true. You can't really fake it in there. You can fake it outside of there. You can say you're going to do this, you can do that, but everything's revealed in there.
Because that's a difficult thing, being able to turn it on and off. So you have some fighters that go into the ring and they've got to display a certain persona, and you just can't have that on the outside. So you find it difficult to switch it on and off?
I think for me, I'm the same in there as I am outside. I'm true to myself in there, so I'm not putting on a persona. What you see in there with me is the same as outside. Try and be calm, and I don't let my emotions affect the task at hand, and I'm very similar outside the ring in terms of control. And so I think combat is, I think you get the best out of yourself when you're true to your nature, regardless. And some people are more flamboyant outside the ring, and you see that inside the ring as well. And some people create characters that maybe they're slightly different from outside the ring, but everything, if you're not true to yourself, I think you always come unstuck in certain situations.
So what's that pressure like? Having all of that pressure, the eyes are on you, the crowd is roaring, and it's just you and the other guy in the ring. What's that pressure like?
It's great. That's what makes you. That's what forms you. That's what builds the resilience that you need for combat sports. You want that pressure. If that pressure is not there, then there's a problem, and you need that. It forges you into a warrior, because you don't let it affect you. It bounces off you, and when you get in the ring and all that noise, people roaring, you don't hear it. You're tunnel vision. You're looking.
But you can't say you're like that outside the ring, are you?
Say again?
Are you like that outside the ring as well?
No, it's a special. It's a special environment being in there, so it's not often outside of the ring. You don't really experience that scenario, so it's not like that. It brings normal scenarios won't bring that out of you, where you have to be completely tunnel vision, and it's fight or flight, and there's not many scenarios that are fight or flight that are like planned, and you've got to build up to this event where you're going to be in fight or flight. Usually it's just, I don't know, a shock scenario that brings that out of you. So it's not a normal place to be. It's not a normal environment to be in. It's a very volatile environment. But
in there it's just you, right? On the outside, when you have pressure situations and stuff like that, is it just you? Do you just take it all on, or do you need to, do you have moments where you're sad, or you need to talk to somebody, or you need a shoulder to cry on, or?
No, I think it's just,
because it sounds very like you've got it all figured out, right?
I think
but is that the reality?
No, I think the reality is you learn how to deal with it fight by fight.
Yeah.
Because the first fight I had, like, you're shaking.
Yeah.
Before you go in there, you're thinking, what if I get knocked out in front of everybody? It's the highest risk scenario you can be in, and I think that's why a lot of the YouTubers, that's why their fan base wants to see them fight, because why are they picking combat to amass this interest? It's because they can get knocked out by a fighter or another YouTuber. So people tune in because it's like, can this guy fight, or is he going to get knocked out? And that is, it's a high risk scenario. So when you're in there, you have to understand that it's very real.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to be tunnel vision on the task and not get caught up in, you know, what's going to happen. Is you just accept anything can happen here.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the training I'm doing and all the preparation, the sacrifices I've made will allow me to protect myself and come out on top here.
Yeah. All right, so question that I like to ask everybody: are you happy?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, happiness is an emotion, so it always comes and goes. I think if you understand that it's not a state you're going to be in constantly, then you'll have more. You'll be more content, whether you're happy or whether you're angry, whether you're nervous, whether you're stressed. It's all about, I think people now see stuff online and they think, you know, I'm meant to be happy all the time, or this person looks happy all the time, and that's not reality. The reality is, one part of the day you're happy, the next part you might be stressed, the next part, you know, you might feel any other way. Emotions change and come and go with time and depending on what you're doing. So it's just about doing stuff that I think you get a sense of happiness from, and having outlets where you know you get rid of stress and you channel your emotions to bring out the best.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a society where everything is consumed via social media, and especially when you're someone that's living in the public eye and obviously with a name like yours, you're gonna get to a point in life, the emotions that other people may be able to express externally, you might feel as though, okay, I can't show this level of weakness, or I can't show this level of vulnerability. Have you ever been through that situation where, you know, if not for who you are and what you do, you probably would have managed the situation a bit differently?
Not really, not yet. I don't think I've come to a position yet where I've had to, you know, change that. I think being in the public eye or in a sport like boxing where everything you do is on a stage, you know, or the end result of what you do is on a stage. You're trained for this long, and the end product everyone sees, and all your vulnerabilities are out, like I say, because you're on a stage and it's worst case scenario can happen here, and you accept that. So I think boxing's helped me develop understanding how to deal with emotions and use them to advantage rather than to my detriment. So I feel like it's helped me become aware of that. But yeah, like I say, you experience every different emotion at different times, and that's natural. And you know, I think I do like my own company a lot, and I think I process things in my own space anyway. You know, try and deal and process with anything on my mind, and then you know, show more strength on the outside to people around me.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's anything that's come with being in the public eye. I think that's more just so how I am, you know, because I think by processing it on my own, I can give more to others, you know, whether that's if they need strength or if they need, you know, someone solid. I feel like that's just my way of doing things, really.
But do you think that's the most effective way?
For me,
yeah.
For me, that's what I found to be the most effective. But like I say, everyone has their own way. There's no one way of doing things that fits everyone. Everyone's got different personalities and expresses themselves in different ways. And I think for me, that's just the way I deal with things, and the way I kind of, go about life.
Because I think it's interesting to know, just because, especially us as men, we go through things sometimes and we don't always feel like we can, be honest with how we feel, or the level of vulnerability that we show others might be very different to how we are behind closed doors by ourselves. Do you feel as though would other people describe you as vulnerable?
No, I don't think so. Because the way I see things in society now, I think people that have faith have a different type of inner strength, and I think that comes from knowing that you're not responsible for everything that happens, here, or everything that happens around you. Sometimes you're tested, and I think if you don't have faith or believe in a higher power, then I can see how the burden of things happening that, whether it's you feel like everything's going wrong or whatever, that falls on you then, so you're fully responsible for it, which adds more pressure, whereas if you have faith in a higher power, then I feel like you understand some things just happen that way, and sometimes it's a test, sometimes it's challenging you in different ways emotionally, and but ultimately it's to bring the best out of you and to challenge you to deal with it and come through the other side. And I feel like if you don't have that faith, then the responsibility just lies on you. It's not, the responsibility is here, and it's testing me or challenging me emotionally or physically, mentally. And if you don't have that effort, then everything resides on you. And I think that's a big player in mental health now as well.
Yeah. I mean, you went through kind of probably one of the hardest things somebody can go through with the passing of your cousin. Can you walk us through kind of your mental state in that period?
Shock, complete shock. Yeah, it didn't feel real, really. Felt like it couldn't be true, Seb was, we both shared the passion for nutrition and health, and really being the best and healthiest version that we can be in terms of what we put in our body and environment and mental state. And he was one of those people that was closest to me in that regard, and very similar characters. So yeah, it didn't seem real when someone puts that much effort into actual health and well-being, and it's the last person you expect. You could have someone drinking and smoking, and that these things result in something that's not necessarily beneficial to the health of the body. So it was really a shock, and I had to really shut off for a good while, shut off everything outside. There was a few close friends of mine and of Seb's that, we spent every day together for a number of weeks without no training, just kind of like going over memories and trying to process together, which helped a lot. But yeah, it still doesn't feel real in moments. But also because I have that faith, and I've noticed the people that do have that strong faith, you know, in a higher power, do deal with it differently, because we have an understanding that everything that happens here is out of our hands. You know, how many days we have here, how many, you know, moments in the future, whether we're going to experience them or not, it's out of our hands. And I think faith just gives you that you can only live for today, and to do the best you can do, or do, you know, or try and live the right way while we're here, and the rest is out of our hands. But again, I think if you don't have that faith in a higher power, I think the burden is different, because you ask more of them questions like why would this happen, and I think just the understanding that anything can happen at any time and it's out of our control, and the job is to live every day like it's our last. And I think that that helps a lot, and knowing that we're all going to the same place eventually. And you know, I'm just happy that a lot of people wanted Seb to be, you know, a boxer, which requires sacrificing a lot of the early part of your life to being in the gym every day and being routine, and being quite robotic in the way where you're like, okay, gym, home, training. And Seb was never like that, and he had the talent. He had more talent than all of us put together. And he's got knockout highlight reels from the amateurs, you know, in head guards and puffy gloves. So everyone wanted to see him apply that robotic kind of structure to his life, to dedicate himself to boxing, and he never wanted to do that. And I'm glad that he didn't, because everyone has a different purpose here, you know. And even if someone's talented in one thing, that might not be their calling here. And if he did dedicate himself, you know, and he only had 29 years here, then it would have been a waste. So I'm glad he was his own man, and he lived exactly how he wanted to. He traveled the world, and he done a lot of good and helped a lot of people. And if he would have took another route, then it wouldn't have been his path. If you have 29 years here, he lived his life like every day was his last. And yeah, I'm grateful for it.
How would you describe the relationship that you had with Seb?
The closest person to me, obviously we were cousins, but we were more, out of the family, we are the most similar. So it's like we kind of found that connection, and it was, yeah, he was like my brother, but like, I know sometimes you're not like close to your brothers, but he was more like my best friend. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
What would you say about your favourite experience with Seb, and why?
Favourite experience. There's so many, just like messing
Top
about,
two,
just
top
like
three?
just like
Choose one.
just like messing about. It's just like, you know, you're just with your close people, you're just messing about, you just do dumb shit that's funny, and you're like, it's just, yeah, it's just the energy, but it's not really a moment where it's like, there's different moments, but it's like they come at different times. Like I'll be doing something and I'll remember doing it with him, and then it will be like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, just so many moments, just kind of going to his and chilling with him, like just doing nothing, you know, watching YouTube documentaries and learning about stuff together, going in on nutrition seminars, and just trying to figure out how to change the world for the better, you know. That's it.
Would you say that there's anything that you learned from him, or that he taught you, that you hold on to like steadfastly throughout life since?
Yeah, a lot. A lot. He was always I'd always look to him for like, what's the right thing to do in this like situation, you know? Like, he was always one of them people that would stick up for the underdog or the person that's being targeted, and I'd always look to him for like what's the right thing to do in this situation, or anything that I didn't really understand in terms like socially or whatever. I'd look to him to be like, what's your reaction to this?
Was he like a compass for you in a way?
Yeah, definitely. He was a role model for me, and definitely like a compass, like someone I'd go to for advice on, what do you think is the right thing to do here? So I would always look to him. I'd always go to him. So it's definitely, definitely a gap. Now when certain stuff, I'd want to call him up straight away and be like, yo, you see this? What do you think of this? I'd bounce everything off him.
During that period of time, who did you speak to?
Like I said, there was three of us that were very close to Seb. So we bounced off each other. And I think that was a really necessary, we set up a group chat, just us three, and kind of, like I said, spent every day for a good few weeks, at least to a month, just no other kind of motive other than just link up and go over good memories, and used each other to bounce off our emotions and questions and just everything we was feeling, and could use each other to bounce things off of each other. And that was an essential part of the healing process, I think.
It's interesting because initially you said that you kind of process things by yourself. But when it came to a situation like this, where it's a lot of pressure, a lot of things running through your mind, it was important for you to have a group there where you can kind of bounce off of.
Definitely, yeah. I don't think anything can really be equal to that type of situation. Especially the shock value of it. Like, if someone's older, or like I say, lives their life in a certain way where it's like, these things lead to this, and I think you can build up a certain resilience to it over a number of years if you see it gradually going that way. Whereas this was a complete shock. So I did need those people around to bounce off of. And yeah, it definitely helped in that situation. But I don't know if there's many situations that could be equivalent to that in terms of shock value and emotional type of shock trauma in a way that where I feel like I couldn't deal with it, by myself. But when I look back, that definitely helped, so I can't say I can deal with everything by myself, but I wouldn't say there's many. I'd say a lot of situations I find it best to deal with things and section things off emotionally by myself. But this was one where I did need those people around to bounce off.
Is that because that's just how you've always done it, or is that because that's the most effective method, or the only method you know?
I think it's the method that I know, the method that I find to be the most effective for me, and it's I think it's just the way you're brought up, especially in the type of family that that I'm in. It's your dad's always, it's tough love. It's not come and tell me all your problems. Tell me, it's it's tough love. It's you struggle to get compliments or or kind of thought out conversations on any topics. It's a very alpha type of prove yourself environment.
Because I think it's quite similar as kind of growing up in from certain backgrounds and with certain types of influences and parents around you. Sometimes you get to a point in life where it's what I've been taught isn't what I want to teach, right? So if you put yourself in the same position and you have kids, would you use that same method, or would you be more of a expressive conversation, personal touch?
I think there's benefits to both. I think there's benefits to giving a child that kind of like not cushioning them, to reality, or not breeding kind of over emotional characteristics, and I think there's benefits to that in forging you into someone that's capable of processing stuff on your own if you need to. So I think there's definitely benefits in it in terms of making sure someone's capable of dealing with stuff if they haven't got that network, that you're not gonna kind of implode. But conversations and going through things and understanding things are definitely good for allowing someone to process certain stuff and stress, and it's definitely helpful. Like for me, like Seb was always the one I'd go to if I didn't kind of understand, for that type of conversational guidance or leadership. He had all those qualities, so he was always the one that I would go to if I didn't really understand certain things, or asking for advice on what I should do in a situation of adversity, so I definitely think there's stuff I would do differently, and there's stuff that I would keep the same, if, in terms of the next generation.
Yeah. Who do you go to now?
I think like I said, I try and deal with stuff on my own or find ways to. But yeah, I think faith is a big factor, and I'm a man of faith. I do believe in a higher power, the creator. And, to some degree, this is a simulation to develop your characteristics, strengthen the spirit, a physical experience to strengthen the spirit and the moral character we will have. So I think that helps me a lot,
Yeah. So going through kind of what you've gone through and being here now, for people who have been through similar things or who are going through similar things, what would you kind of say? Like what was the best thing apart from having that group of people that you can call your brothers, that you can speak to and kind of be vulnerable? What else helped you and Faith, what else helped you kind of be able to move past that?
I don't think you necessarily move past it. I think you just learn to accept that everything is temporary. There's nothing that's going to last forever, and to embrace each moment, and to enjoy each moment we have, because nothing lasts forever. So I think I think it's just kind of taking time to digest and to figure things out, and to have physical outlets to actually channel emotions and aggression. And for me, boxing, training and routine helps that a lot, because if you haven't got that outlet, then if you're more stationary in what you do, or you haven't got routine of this is what I do, this is what I do in the morning, with go work. If you have hobbies in the evening, if you don't have a structure, you've got more time alone in your mind to overthink. And a lot of the time it's the overthinking that breeds and almost worsens the negative thoughts. And so I think just keeping a focus on good things you can do to channel your emotion, and direct it and target it in a good way, and remembering that everyone wants the person that you lost wanted what's best for you, and wanted you to excel in what in your passions, basically. So to do that is to carry on what you've been doing, and channel your emotion and energy in a positive direction.
I think it's really heartwarming to kind of hear you speak about it from that perspective, because I know it could have literally been, if maybe the same situation had happened 5 years prior, you may not have been in a mental state to be able to cope with that. And I know when I lost somebody that was very, very dear to me, my mental state was not as strong as that. Although I was able to kind of block it out, sometimes it creeps up on you, and you might be driving one day and it just pops into your head, or you might just be sitting there watching Netflix and you just remember the time when you guys used to, and it's knowing that those moments are still gonna come, and being able to deal with it, and just seeing the positives, like you said.
I think I still get that. I'm still driving, and something will, deja vu or whatever will come into my head, or a memory that I've shared will come in, and I just try and, like you say, put a positive spin on it and enjoy the memories, rather than, ultimately we're here to create memories, and I'm just grateful that I created them, that them memories were created, because we never know when our last day here is, so we have to take each day for what it is, and be grateful for the memories that we have created with people, I think. It's
definitely one of those things that you have to experience it to know what it's really like, and when you have, I think you're a lot more in touch with understanding what other people go through when they experience similar things. But so after that situation, how long before you got back into boxing?
So after about 3 weeks, I went back into the gym, kind of just started training again.
Is that just to keep yourself occupied?
I just needed that. I still needed that physical outlet. It helps, especially when you got that built up emotion as well, and you don't necessarily know how to figure it out at the time. You're learning on the job. This isn't something that. It's not something that's routine that you get used to. This is something that has shock value. So you're learning how to deal with it while you're dealing with it. And so I went back into the gym after about 3 weeks, and a few of my close friends in the gym, could kind of tell that I wasn't, I wasn't the same. I wasn't in the same headspace, or my characteristics, how I express myself in the gym weren't the same as I usually am. So just I was training. I got back into training, but it's still, there was still healing and stuff to be worked out. Wasn't like 3 weeks back to normal. It's like it's a constant process of trying to deal with it.
Yeah.
But the gym helped as a physical outlet. Even if you're not in the same headspace, you can still go and hit a bag and let some of that aggression out.
It's admirable now. I think you are a lot more in touch with kind of where you are. Have you ever felt like you've experienced imposter syndrome, where you felt as though you were only kind of in a room because of your name and you didn't actually deserve to be there yet?
No, personally, like for me, I think it's been the opposite.
Yeah.
Like it's a completely different thing where people almost expect that you to be in the room, but you're not in the room. And it's like, okay, how do I get in the room? Like there's like, how do I, I've dedicated this long to developing as a fighter. Now I can fight. How do I grow as a fighter? And I didn't necessarily have someone to bring me up or like, this is how you do this. This is how you get to this position. This is how you promote yourself. This is how, like, for me, I had to figure that out. I had to figure out how do I do this.
But you're surrounded with boxers and you're surrounded with people who've obviously done this before.
Yeah.
Why was it so hard?
I think it's just, I think there's strategy to do certain things. And if you look at Chris Senior's strategy with Junior, it was very, very smart, terrestrial TV from the start. And he was next to him, every fight early on, because that is a strategy to take the limelight and put it on Junior. And father-son, boxing father-son relationships have, I think, tried to model what they're doing based on what Senior done.
Yeah.
So he was ahead of the game in realizing how to promote Junior, I think, and other father-son relationships have done that, whether it's in like media content and having the dad close to the son, or if it's fight weeks and all that media is around them. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of had to do it on my own to a degree and figure out, how do I do this, and having the name, but not necessarily the promotion that comes with that. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but I think it's built me, it's given me that resilience and that mental fortitude, I think, that will stand me in good stead for the future.
What are 3 things that you would tell yourself or somebody who was 20 years old, who wants to be in your position in 10 years?
I think the main thing would be persevere. Yeah, I think a lot of the time from the outside it looks easier than it is on the inside. So yeah, there's definitely times where I could have been like, this isn't for me, and I think just persevering through each moment, you get there eventually. And I think perseverance is one of the main characteristics in people achieving success in any field. It doesn't come overnight. And the people that say it comes overnight are a lot of the time are faking it, because it takes years to develop in any field to a point where you're capable or you excel in it. Takes a long time and a lot of hard work and dedication. So perseverance, I think, is key. The people that persevere the people that persevere will overcome the people that are talented.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the case in many different scenarios.
And the other two?
Dedication, like dedicate yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's similar to perseverance. Like if you dedicate yourself, you can get there, you can achieve it. But it's gonna take sacrifice. It's gonna take really applying yourself and staying dedicated to what you're doing for a number of years. There's no such thing as overnight success in the real world. You might get lucky, you might win the lottery, but that doesn't teach you anything. You've got no skills, you haven't built skills doing that. So real success takes time and effort and dedication.
It's interesting because when you do these interviews or have these conversations, you get a similar answer from a lot of people who have, and I think the main one is resilience and being able to go up against the wall and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And like you said, it's not going to take a day or a year. 10 years is what a lot of people are saying. 10 years, and it's still having the same enthusiasm at year 10 as you did in year 1.
Yeah, and that's difficult sometimes. Like, I think some people from the outside, I think people think you're motivated every day to do this because you love it or whatever. And there is that, but there's also, when you're doing something every day, although it's a passion, it becomes, you have to figure out ways to motivate yourself, you know, and seek motivation from different places. And I'll seek motivation in so many different fields. I might see, I might see someone that's dedicated themselves, get a success in this field, or produce something and get a great reaction, and know the build-up time that took to get that. And I might take motivation from that, being like, that's serious. Like I can do something like I'll just take motivation from all different fields and all different kind of small or big wins, you know, from people, and use that to channel into what I'm doing, because you're doing something every day and it's similar every day, so it's not always fun, but you've got to find ways to make it fun. You know, to stay in it and to stay enjoying it. Yeah,
and that's what you've been able to do, and it's showing. It's showing definitely. So
thank you.
Trying to get to 16-0.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's no arm grabbing this time.
Yeah, that's it.
No, after the bell.
After the bell. So we'll try and play by the rules. If not, I might have to land some cheap blows.
But man, thank you for coming out, man. I appreciate that.
Nice one, man.
Great having you, my guy.